What's going on, everyone? I am just a typical, average American here today to react to some recent news that the United States has now decided to abandon the Canada US Permanent Joint Board on Defense. Which, I mean, obviously, we've all heard of that before. Yeah, right? Psh, who doesn't know about the Canada US Permanent Joint Board on Defense, right? Well, no. So I actually had to look this up to try to understand how significant this actually is. And it seems that this is some kind of a defense advisory partnership between our two countries that we actually started together like 80 years ago. And now, for some reason, in 2026, the US has suddenly decided to end this. Or technically, we're pausing our participation in it. So, obviously, there's already a lot of tension between our two countries going on. And this certainly does not seem to do anything to help that. If anything, this is just going to exacerbate that. So I really don't understand what the US is thinking here. So today, I want to take a look at this video and try to learn more about what is going on.
Let's be clear about the relationship as it stands right now.
The Canada-U.S. relationship is facing yet another challenge, with the
Yeah.
Trump administration pulling back from a government working group dedicated to North American defense.
What? Wait, what did they do? This is a group that's dedicated to like the joint defense of our two countries? That sounds like a very big deal. Why? Okay, so a part of this was I was thinking, okay, the US is like kind of trolling again, except it's worse than that. Like we're purposefully antagonizing Canada, oh, we're going to quit this joint board just to stir things up, or because this certainly doesn't seem to be in our best interest. So it's like, why are we doing this if not to just be antagonistic? And I mean, it kind of reminded me of a video I did very recently. There's like a library on the border between Canada and the United States, and the US government recently decided that Canadians were no longer allowed to use like the US side of the library, the entrance, or it was a huge troll and a huge like it's just seems to be meant to be offensive and annoying. And I was wondering if that's what was going on here, but that doesn't even seem to be the case. Like this actually just seems to be this is very in a very real way bad for our safety and for coordinating our two countries' defenses, right? So what? Why on earth would the U.S. do this? Can anybody make this make any sense?
My initial reaction is stupid foolishness. Once again, the Americans want to talk to themselves instead of talking to other people.
Oh. I like this guy. I don't know who this is. Some kind of expert on the matter, I assume. How did he put it? Stupid foolishness?
Foolishness.
What was the exact phrase here?
Reaction is stupid foolishness.
Stupid foolishness. Yeah, I mean, geez. That should be like our slogan.
Once again, the Americans want to talk to themselves instead of talking to other people.
Like as in, by stepping away from this partnership, the United States, we just want to have things our way, right? At the end of the day, this is some kind of collaboration between our militaries or our defense and planning, and when you step away from that, you're basically either saying you don't want the other person, you don't need them, or you just want total control to do it on your own. So one of those things.
The announcement came on social media. Canada has failed to make credible progress on its defense commitments, said a senior U.S. official.
What is this? What? This was like on Twitter or X or whatever you're supposed to call it now. A strong Canada that prioritizes hard power over rhetoric benefits us all. Unfortunately, Canada has failed to make credible progress on its defense commitments. Department of War is pausing the Permanent Joint Board on Defense. Because Canada has failed to make credible progress in its defense. Isn't Canada, like, from what I've been reading recently, isn't it like spending unprecedented amounts of money and resources on like rearming Canada? Isn't that like a huge thing that's going on right now? And didn't Canada reach the NATO goal? The like 2% GDP spent on military. Like Canada reached that already too, right? I'm pretty sure. So, what do you mean Canada hasn't made credible progress towards defense? That seems to be like, on the exact contrary, a very high priority for Canada right now. Like you're going out of your way to do it. So what? What? Well, nothing makes sense anymore.
And so the U.S. is pausing the Permanent Joint Board on Defense, adding, we can no longer avoid the gaps between rhetoric and reality.
So what the... I mean, here's a question. Even if we truly did believe that Canada wasn't holding up its end of the what? Hasn't made credible progress on defense, holding up your commitments to defense. Even if we truly believe that, how would leaving the collaboration of our defenses, how would just stepping away and cutting off the communication and the partnership here, how would that do anything to help the situation? You know what I mean? Like, even if this were at all, had any truth to it, which it seems that it doesn't. What? Huh? These are the people in charge now.
Adding, we can no longer avoid the gaps between rhetoric and reality. The Post also includes a link to the Prime Minister's pointed critique of Trump's disruptive foreign policy.
We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition.
The board was first launched by Prime Minister Mackenzie King and President Franklin D. Roosevelt.
It was formed as a bilateral between Canada and the U.S., and during the Second World War, its purpose was to develop coordinated defense for North America against the Axis.
Okay, so this is like... That makes it sound like a World War thing. Like, kind of... perhaps this is outdated? This partnership? Or whatever the original intention for forming this? Perhaps that, like, no longer is really relevant? But I'm sure the U.S. and Canada have tons of other strategic partnerships, especially with military and defense. I'm positive. So this one, you know, at best, this specific, like, joint defense board, like, it's not the end of the world if we step away from it, but that would mean the purpose here, again, I'm trying to get to the bottom of, like, what is the United States trying to... What message are we sending? It's really just like a middle finger to Canada. I think that's fair to say, to leave this joint partnership we've had for decades. Because there's literally no reason, if it's outdated and had something to do with like World War II or something, there's no reason to like retroactively go back and leave it. Unless you just wanted to make a big show, a big statement like, we're leaving this random defense partnership from 80 years ago. So, otherwise, if this is indeed important, we're just like jeopardizing the safety of the continent to make a point which seems to be not even... The premise of this is Canada isn't doing anything with your military, but that isn't true. This whole situation is just totally baffling. Like, especially if you know anything about anything that's been going on. It's baffling.
In modern times, officials held top-secret discussions about Arctic security strategy and the modernization of NORAD, planning that will now become harder, according to the former Canadian co-chair of the group.
NORAD. That's like a joint partnership, some military initiative that really is a big collaboration between Canada and the US. NORAD. So that's still a thing. But stepping away from this other one is going to hurt that? What are we trying to do? I mean, I hate to have to speculate, but it just makes so little sense. All you can do is like speculate, because the reasoning that the United States government gave isn't logical. It doesn't make sense. So what's the real reason?
I'm disappointed. I think it's short-sighted. I think it's foolish, but I'm not surprised.
In response, Canada's
Oh my God, this guy is like ruthless. This guy. Oh my God, he thinks it's dumb, short-sighted, foolish, but it's the U.S., so he's not surprised. Oh my God, is that like the attitude that a lot of Canadians are starting? I wouldn't be surprised. Where it's like, yeah, I think what the U.S. is doing is dumb, but I'm not. I mean, heck, I'm starting to get that opinion about my own country. So that's how you know it's bad.
Short-sighted. I think it's foolish, but I'm not surprised.
In response, Canada's defense minister says Ottawa is remaining ready to come to the table for constructive discussions.
This is another thing where I've heard a lot of talk from U.S. representatives like, oh, Canada is so difficult, boycotting us, not coming to the table for and then literally you hear the Minister of Defense for Canada literally ready to come to the table for discussions.
Defense minister says
Foolish, but I'm not surprised.
In response, Canada's defense minister says Ottawa is remaining ready to come to the table for constructive discussions.
So the U.S. is stepping away, and Canada is literally trying, even after this, you could really call this like a diss, like offensive. Like that was the purpose of the U.S. leaving this. You could really say that. I'm starting to think that is what the reason was. And even still, Canada remains professional and like, we're ready to talk, like, and be constructive. Like, we don't have to just make Twitter posts about how we're mad and we're leaving partnerships. But it really makes you question the way that the U.S. is going about things now. It's really it's not good. It's unsettling.
Pointing out that Canada has increased defense spending, meeting NATO's 2% target ahead of schedule.
Exactly. Okay, I'm really glad they said that. That's exactly what I've thought, right? I mean, am I going crazy here? Didn't Canada do more in the last year for defense than they've done in a long time? Or I think it also might have to do with the United States having a totally unreasonable, disproportionate idea of what a reasonable military spend should look like. Here in the US, we don't really know what a lot of our tax money goes towards. But if you asked a random American, they'd say, probably the military. Because we spend an ungodly, I think the most, on a military out of every country in the world. I think. Or at least we're up there. And we like project that totally unreasonable, benchmark onto Canada, I think. Like, we're spending like 20% of our entire GDP on this. You guys got to match that. It's like, which is totally unreasonable to expect of Canada or anybody in the world. So that could be another part of this, too. Why the U.S. government's getting so upset? Maybe.
And that Canada is on track to reach 5% by 2035.
Wow.
Even with the board suspended, defense cooperation between Canada and the U.S. continues on as planned.
Certainly it's symbolic, and its cancellation is going to rile feathers in Canada. But I think we'll have to see long-term just how much it actually changes the level and cadence of communication.
Okay, that's interesting. So he said like this to him, this seems symbolic, which is one of the theories I had. That the US is doing this as a message, not literally because they don't want to be part of this joint defense board anymore. It's really just like the US government found a random partnership between Canada and the US from decades ago and it was like that'll do. And it was like made a big press release like we're leaving this. Screw Canada. Come on. Can't you spend some money on the military? What have you even done? And it's like they have no idea what Canada has been doing in the last year. Because it, yeah. Ha! Jeez. I'm glad some of the analysis from some of these commentators kind of aligns with what I'm thinking about this. Because I think, frankly, they're all kind of as baffled as I am. But this would make the most sense.
The last known meeting of this group was November 2024, suggesting it hasn't met since Trump returned to office.
Oh.
Okay, Katie, help.
Wait, what? This partnership, this board, I guess it's supposed to meet like every year or twice a year or something. It hasn't met in 2 years. So this is like, this isn't really an active initiative, you could say. Like, so that really brings into question, that really makes it seem like the US did this just as a middle finger. That really makes it seem like it. Because this wasn't even like active for the last 2 years. And now we're just leaving it.
Help us out here. What more do we know about why this and why now?
There is plenty of speculation, Adrian. Could it be a shot at Canada to gain leverage in trade talks? Is the U.S. angry that Canada is reviewing its purchase of American fighter jets? Or is the Trump administration frustrated that Canada isn't moving fast enough with defense spending? Experts say all three could be valid.
Even they're speculating. And it's basically all amounts to Trump and the U.S. government is upset with Canada, and this is like some kind of juvenile way of getting back at you. I think that's actually what's going on.
All right, that is Katie Simpson in Washington. Thanks, Katie.
Wow. So that's it. I mean, when I first heard about this, the first thing I was thinking was like, okay, the U.S. is withdrawing from this Canada-U.S. Defense Board thing that no one's ever heard of. Like, that sounds very bad. Are we trying to separate our militaries or like our partnerships? Because from what I understand, Canada and the U.S. are deeply integrated with each other. Because, just geographically, that makes total sense. And historically, we have, and it's a good thing. So this was really concerning to me. Like, is this the start of something totally insane? Like, pulling apart that partnership? And it seems like it's somehow less that and more of like a cheap shot at Canada. Like, yeah, it's crazy to even think that's like the level that the US government is stooping down to at this point. Like just trying to take a shot at Canada and just do something to hurt you or to voice that we're upset, or like a child throwing a tantrum, or it's so crazy that this is actually what the US government is doing right now, these types of things. And that the transparency is so bad and the logic is so bad. No, even as an American, I don't understand what my own country is thinking or doing, what our government is doing. So that's disturbing. This whole situation is so bizarre. So, like, but on the other hand, like that guy earlier who was roasting us said, it's foolish, it doesn't make sense, but it's not totally surprising. I think that's really where we're at right now. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Very sad. This is obviously doing nothing to help with the relationship, the deteriorating relationship between Canada and the U.S. So this was really disappointing to learn about for many reasons. But it's good to be aware, because I think a lot of Americans don't realize that all this crazy stuff is happening. So Anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on the U.S. leaving this partnership with Canada and what you think the U.S. is trying to say by doing this and what this means to you. And that'd be cool to hear more thoughts and opinions about that. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canadian things that I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.